child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and of peace there will be no end, on the throne of David and over his kingdom. Our last album was Prepare Room in 2014, which, praise the Lord, just turned out great. I thought turned out better than we thought it would. Just songs, the production, the vocals, and we've seen churches pick up those songs and use them each, Advent and Christmas season. And so I've been thinking over the last few years, should we do another album, Christmas album? And because those are hard to do. Everybody does them. And Christmas, it's like, don't we have enough songs already? And why write enough? Which is, you could say the same thing with congregational worship albums. But so a few years ago, my daughter Brittany wrote this song called Glory in the Darkest Place. And Brittany has a heart for those who are going through difficult times. She wants to show them the love of Christ, how the gospel applies to this situation. So she wrote this song, Glory in the Darkest Place. We recorded it, put it on Facebook, and within a week, it had like 130,000 views. And it's one of those songs that just said something to a lot of people that maybe wasn't being said. And that was, how do you find joy in this season when you're going through great loss, great trial, great challenges? And so that's what the song was about. And I thought, I would love to have an album that had that song on it. So I guess last year I threw it out to the songwriters and said, hey, what if we do another Christmas album? And the response was just wonderful. I mean, people said, yeah, let's go for it. So that's how this album came about.
Yeah, I think writing for a Christmas album, it is interesting because you know what the theme is going to be, right?
Yeah.
It's the birth of Christ. So it's trying
You can't trick people.
Yeah. It's like we kind of know what to expect, right? But then you have to think of, this is the way I think at least, is trying to find something that hasn't been done before, a unique perspective, or, just some way of thinking about the incarnation. Because like you said, there's so many albums and so many Christmas songs. And in the congregational worship realm as well, you're thinking when you go to plan songs for that very short, maybe 4 to 5 weeks of thinking, what could we do to sing together about the birth of Christ? Yeah. And it's maybe difficult to teach a new song in that season, knowing that we're going to really sing this for 3, 4, 5 weeks, and then maybe we won't sing it again until next year. Right. So I think there's some of that comes into play too, in the sense of the song has to feel really special. It has to be one of those songs that when you hear it for the first time, you think, I want to sing that song. Yes. Like, I can't wait to sing that song. So yeah, just trying to think of different perspectives, I think is helpful when it comes to writing uniquely for Christmas.
Great.
So
you wrote the song, Come For Us?
Yeah,
right?
Wrote that with a few other writers.
Okay,
Yep.
so tell us about that process.
So Come For Us, one of our pastors in Sovereign Grace had asked, what if you did a song based on Galatians 4:4? Very specific verse about Christ being born under the law at just the right time. And so Cameron and I sat down together basically with a blank slate and just said, okay, well, we've got Galatians 4. We need to figure out where do we go from there. And so that idea of being born under the law made us just go, well, we kind of need to go back all the way to the beginning of the Bible. And so we just started with Adam and Eve in the garden before the fall, and saying you made us sinless, made in your image, that kind of feel. And so we started there and just said, let's see where this takes us. And then Christ coming in to fulfill the law, for us. And so it was just a really fun song to write.
So getting the broader picture of the birth of Christ.
Yes.
Painting that big picture.
Right.
So we understand better, this is why this was so significant.
Right. Yeah, you really have to paint that picture of why did Christ have to come?
Yes.
And so obviously to answer that question, not every song has to go all the way back to the beginning, but for that particular song, we thought we need to go all the way back to the beginning and just, sinless Adam and Eve, but then making that decision to break God's law. And then thus we need someone who can keep God's law. and then being able to sing about Christ being the one who kept that law for us. Cry of the song is asking, is putting ourselves in that perspective of saying we need someone to come for us and do this for us, and to be able to express the cry of our hearts. And so that's where the chorus went, was just, send from heaven our Messiah, send him for us, knowing that we're under the law, under the curse of the law.
And then that song ends with, it's send from, before Jesus comes, send from heaven. And then we're saying, yes, sent from heaven.
Yeah.
But it ends with,
yes,
Lord, we're waiting for your return.
That's
Sent
right.
from heaven our Messiah.
Yeah.
Which I love, because in Advent, we're talking about how people waited for Christ to come. But we are in a similar position in that we're
right.
waiting for Christ to come. So
Yeah.
I love a song that captures all that. So let's keep talking about songwriting for a moment. David, you did a ton of stuff on this album. You played drums, you wrote a bunch of songs, co-wrote a bunch of songs, you sang on the album, and then you were involved in the arrangements of the album. But talk about the song Who Is This, which I think you wrote with Nate Stiff.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's just a phenomenal writer.
Yeah, he would be also sitting on this couch if
He would be,
was
but
here.
he lives far away.
Yes. Yeah, Nate had written those lyrics like 3 years ago. And I met him through Sovereign Grace Music and read those lyrics and immediately put a melody to it, because I was so drawn to the progression of the song. Who is this divine and tender, hailing from eternal shores, once arrayed in highest splendor, now in poverty adorned. And I just that took my breath away, and so I wanted to put a melody to it. And so we went back and forth, and we actually kind of put that song on the shelf and wrote maybe 30 or 40 more songs and came back to it for this Christmas record. And it's just, I just love how it walks through, and he is Jesus in the last verse, God triumphant, it's come for sinners slain, as John is saying. So sometimes you write a song or a melody to lyrics and they don't see the light for another 3 to 4 years.
Yes.
You just have no idea, but you work hard to refine it as much as you can so that it's accessible and it's clear.
And it is both of those. And it's also one of, I think, 4 or 5 songs on the album that tell like the whole gospel story, which I love. A lot of Christmas songs focus on Jesus being born, the shepherds, the angels, Mary and Joseph, which is wonderful. But one of the things we're committed to in Sovereign Grace Music is singing songs that enable the word of Christ to dwell in us richly. The word of Christ is the gospel.
Yeah.
It's the full story. Jesus, the Son of God, taking on our flesh to live a perfect life, to die as our substitute on the cross, taking the wrath of God in our place, to rise from the dead, ascend to his Father's right hand, where he now intercedes for us and reigns, and from which one day he's coming back for the bride he won. It's a glorious story.
Yeah.
So we love to tell it, and that's what's supposed to dwell in people richly, and that's one of the songs that does that.
Yeah, when I remember at the Songwriters Retreat, John kind of led it at the beginning and just explained that the gospel is going to be interwoven in this whole album. And I remember, Bob, you saying that the gospel we not only see it obviously in Christ first coming to this earth, but we see it woven in our lives every day. And I think there are songs that were inspired through that first, like even "O Come All You Unfaithful," which is not so much a telling of the incarnation as much as it's Christ is here for us in our darkest places, in our darkest moments. And so that is a song that I cannot wait for people to hear.
I hope it serves them. That came about, "Oh Come All You Unfaithful." I just remember I saw the title, Lisa Clow suggested it as a song. She had started some work on it, and I saw that title and I thought, I want to work on that song. Because, we're all familiar with "O Come All Ye Faithful."
Joyful and triumphant. Yeah.
But at Christmas, so many people are thinking, I am not joyful and triumphant. My life is a waste. My life is, I'm a loser, or I'm suffering, or everything, my life is everything bad. What does this season have to offer me? And I just thought, it has everything to offer you. That's why Jesus came. So it starts, "Oh, come, all you unfaithful, weak and unstable, come, know that you're not alone." And my favorite lines are the third verse. "Oh, come, you who have nothing, come, he is the offering. Come, see what our God has done.
Yeah.
Christ is born, Christ is born, Christ is born for you."
Yeah.
And we had some conversation about where that song was going to go on the album.
Yeah.
And we decided to open the album with it. Not that anybody really listens to albums all the way through anymore, but if they did, that's the song that you would be, that's what you would hear first.
Yeah.
"Oh, come, all you unfaithful."
Yeah.
Don't get yourself together because you can't.
Yeah.
Don't feel like you have to put on your Christmas cheer because it doesn't work in this context. Jesus has come for those who are lost. So I love that.
I think if I could jump in,
Yeah.
I just remember thinking back to the retreat when we were here.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, what we've done the last few years is if you have a song to share, we'll sit around as a group and share those songs kind of one at a time and be able to give each other feedback. And I remember hearing the first maybe 2 or 3 lines of that song when you and Lisa, and it just immediately I thought to myself, there are so many people that need to hear this song.
This will serve.
I mean, I was affected immediately within 10 seconds of that song. I remember thinking to myself, that song has to be on this album.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
we all
just
said that
immediately. Yeah.
collectively.
Yeah. It was just one of those like sort of moments where you all just kind of go, there's something really special about that song.
Well, and I
praying
love
it'll serve people.
Yeah, and I love that it's first on the album because it sort of sets the tone for the whole album. That I feel like Christmas is such a nostalgic, joyful time, and it is because there's so much to celebrate. But I love that the album launches from that song.
It makes room for everybody, which is what the birth of Christ does.
Yeah, that's right.
It says anyone who wants to come is welcome.
Yeah.
All right, so you mentioned before, David, sometimes songs take a long time, and this is Lacy who.
Yes, the painful process.
Lacy helped a number of ways, administrated a lot, was in the studio a lot, just helping with vocals and stuff, sang on the album and wrote for the album, and I was working with you and Mark Willerton, another writer on the album, with the song "The First Noel." So just talk a little bit about that process.
Oh, what a process. So we pitched it at the songwriting retreat. We had put a new chorus to it.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
Thanks.
chorus.
Yeah, so traditional melody in the verses. And I remember Mark and I thinking we wanted to just have a different spin on it.
Well, you wanted to, I don't know what that spin was, but you ended up telling the gospel story.
Yeah. And I remember initially it started, we wanted to tell it, we kept saying the word tender.
Oh,
so
yes.
just more of tender images, tender moments to tell this gospel story, because the song does walk through birth, life, death, resurrection. So anyways, we pitched it at the retreat, and it went well, and then just came to realize through various conversations that it could be stronger lyrically. Yeah, so worked on it probably for
hours a day for about 5 to 6 months. So lets you think
It wasn't
these
that much.
songs just come out. They take time.
Perseverance is key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still, I feel like the Lord really gave us
the words to say at the end, and I'm really encouraged with where it is. And yeah, I think it will serve a lot of people. I just know even for me growing up, I remember thinking like, oh, the first Noel, like that's a cool song, like it's a nice melody, but the words don't really say anything.
The last
And
verse,
yeah.
with his blood, salvation hath brought.
Yeah.
But you have to wait to get to there. And I think what you and Mark did with it is exceptional. And I remember even you were about to sing the vocal, and we were still working on one line.
Yeah, in the studio.
Oh, you were walking into the vocal
In the booth.
So, you never know how long it's going to take. David, you were most involved with the arrangements. How does this album sound, and what were you going for?
Yeah, we got into the studio to rehearse for about a week before, which we call pre-production, and Tyler Anderson produced this record for us. He's a local Louisville, Kentucky producer, and yeah, I mean the arranging process is like the hardest process because you're wanting to serve the lyric, but you're also wanting to serve churches that are gonna hopefully sing these songs and serve these congregations. So you don't want the arrangements to be too distracting or too complex. You want them to be inspiring and unique and also accessible. And so that process takes time. And even that is a refining process. After you're doing all the songwriting, you have to then work through, okay, what key do we do this in and how do we make this sound the best we can? And Tyler was awesome and really inspiring to work with. And then we recorded the album in Nashville at Smoakstack, which was a just beautiful, inspiring place to record, and had a couple local musicians play on the album with us. But all in all, it was just a really fun process to be a part of.
And you got to mention Jonny Barahona.
Yes.
He's not a part of Sovereign Grace, but a dear friend, and has played on some of our other albums.
Yes.
On keyboards.
Yeah, I think what we've really loved in some of the previous Christmas records that Sovereign Grace has put out has been really unique, memorable melodies, like lines that are turns and interwoven through these recordings, and that is totally where Jonny lives. And so there's really intricate piano parts, really great organ parts that he played in, and I just think every time I listen to the album as we're getting it refined still, is hearing a song and going, oh, I remember that piano part, or I remember that lead line, or whatever, and then going to the next song, next part. And so there'll be moments that churches can pick up and pianists can pick up, and I think it'll be a great record just for people.
Unto us, grace has come, here to seek and bring the sinner home.
Just always good to remember that what we're doing is just a small part of what the Lord is doing. And He's going to have His name honored. He's going to have Jesus glorified. Every knee's going to bow, every tongue confess. And that's what this is about here. We just wanted to add to that. We are really excited about this album and trust that you will enjoy it, and not only enjoy it but benefit from it. We have invested in this album so that not only there will be new songs to sing, but so that more people might understand more clearly why we celebrate Jesus coming. Because whatever songs we write, whatever songs anyone write, none of them are as good as the news that the Son of God took on our flesh to die in our place and rise from the dead so that we could be forgiven and adopted into the family of God. So that's our prayer for you as you listen to these songs, and we trust that you'll enjoy listening to them as much as we did writing and recording them.